in very short order, we went from a company that had approximately 20,000 people to a company that had 40,000 people, a value of 5.6 billion to over 10 billion. So our workload has just exploded in terms of the things that we have to do, simply because we have more people and far more business. And this was imposed on a company that was used to working at a certain level, and now all of a sudden we just have far, far more work than we've ever had before. And in trying to assimilate all of our new employees and new partners and teaming partners and subcontractors and such, we need to be more efficient. And we are using VisibleThread as a way to make ourselves more efficient, coming up with ideas that will save us time and save us money and maximize, optimize all of the people that we do have to do more work.
Great, thanks so much, Elizabeth.
All right, I'll take, for us, it's a different scenario. We work with multiple companies, different players, different personalities, and the biggest change for us has been the customer demand for use of automated tools. Really, they're looking for it. They're no longer happy with, let's do it the old-fashioned way, bring a person, a body, make them sit here, work 12 hours a day, because there is a severe shortage of good proposal managers, and they want work-life balance. The managers want work-life balance. So it's really been a customer demand for us to start incorporating tools in our processes.
Great. Celia, do you want to try your Tuppence-worth in there?
I work for Accenture and work in the Proposal Response Center. And there's, as proposal managers, we have been using VisibleThread for about, 2 years now, I think?
I think so, yeah.
And I think the change is difficult. And so we are still in the learning process. There's some of us that use it very efficiently, and then others that are still trying to get on board, and then some that haven't gotten into it yet. And I think from our perspective, when we've talked about, if it's benefited us, it definitely has been a tremendous benefit. And we do believe that it has increased our P-win for the long term. So over the last couple of years, I would say that we are still in the learning process. And my goal is to help implement and encourage our team to use it more. And we have a couple of, we have one power user on the team, and so I'm excited to learn more about the product and dive deeper into it from that perspective.
Great. Okay, I'm going to mix it up a bit. They've got the questions, by the way, in advance, so they do have time to prep. Okay, do you think automation can have negative effects? Rena, do you want to kick us off there? I suspect you do. Just interested in your answer.
Does automation have negative effects? I mean, if you rely totally on a tool to do the work for you, it's not going to work. I mean, we've spoken about this throughout the day. The human element cannot be removed from this process. It can augment you, it can help you, but you really still need to think about what you're doing. Yes, it can, for clients who have they've either done their own macros, or we've worked with folks who said, oh, we know how to do this, and we built our macros, and they run stuff for us. In fact, I remember I was running a large proposal. It was a $300 million deal, and the client had an in-house proposal manager who was vehement about not having us there and proving that we were not necessary. But he kept bringing up all these things, and the most simplest thing was when we ran a compare of the RFP to what he had done manually from VisibleThread, and the executives just being able to see it the way they did, but we had to go in and verify that the comparison to the compared documents were accurate, because there were some missed points in there, partially because of the way the parsing worked. It did not pick up some of the nuances in the changed amendments. So yes, it can be a pitfall if all you care about is a tool doing it for you.
Okay. Elizabeth?
I come at this from a rather unique perspective, because this past year we had our VisibleThread application taken out of our SCIFs. So all of a sudden, where we had had some great assistance we had nothing. And we were back to doing everything manually. So we had an opportunity to make a comparison of what was the value of the automation we had that we had lost. In the beginning, it was a great loss, and we were hard pressed to accomplish what we'd been able to do previously with use of the tool. And as a matter of fact, for an example, at one point we had a proposal that was due. It was due Monday morning at 8 o'clock, and everybody in the place was there until 8 o'clock on Monday morning, getting the document out the door. So, but we did it. We could still do it. And I guess maybe if you don't have automation, you can survive, but you're so much better off with it. So I really don't want to talk about the downside, since I've seen, in good example, what the downside is.
And Celia, do you have anything to add to that?
I would just say that I agree.
Okay, excellent.
That
Sure.
automation's wonderful. I just
Good.
don't want to ever forget the personal touch and the understanding of the customer,
For sure.
always.
And I'll echo that. In no sense are we saying that solutions, doesn't matter whether it's SharePoint, our stuff, anything else, that removes the need for you as a human being to make judgment calls. Technology is there to assist you, to empower you. It's not there to do your job for you. That's a key point. I have met people who think it's there to do your job. It's crazy. Great. Thinking about the VisibleThread stuff, can you think of areas where the new macro customization might help, and any particular examples? Do you want to kick us off, Sia?
I was just going to say, the discussion we had earlier about how to customize the matrix,
Okay.
because that's where I spend a great deal of time, and I know others do too. So that will be a fabulous add. And several of the other macros that were talked about today, that the lady that spoke earlier about
think it
all the
was Jean,
macros
yeah,
that
yeah.
she has,
Yeah.
those would be a tremendous tool for us. So
Okay.
we'd be happy to incorporate those.
And by the way, this is very useful for us because we can start to try and help build some of those macros and maybe share them as well. So, Elizabeth, do you have any ideas?
I'm going home to review all the section on Excel macros, see if I can't get up to speed on how to do them, because I can see now that this will be very useful in terms of some of the things. And the one thing that I seem to get a lot of requests for, I will run a matrix, a compliance matrix, and then the proposal manager will say, well, can't you clean it up? And so I can see that there would be some instances where you could just run a couple of macros, and that would eliminate all the time that you spend cleaning up that compliance matrix so it's prettier and nicer for them. So that's where I think I'm going to be working next.
Got it. And Rena, do you have any ideas on concrete examples of macros, or even examples?
Removing extra lines, removing extra lines, removing section headings, removing page numbers, all those things that
Okay.
seem to irritate the proposal manager.
Got it.
And the color, yes. Maybe section L is going to be pink now or something, I don't know. But first of all, I'm going to brush up on the macros, but then I'm going to start working on cleaning up compliance matrices.
Okay, excellent. Rena?
No, I'm just going to echo
Okay.
the others.
Great. Aside from automation, what critical factors do you think play the biggest part in win rates, in higher win rates, aside from automation? Who's going to kick us off there?
Okay.
Sia?
I kind of made a list of things. So I just said that really understanding the customer's needs, which I had stated earlier as well, and their pain points, because that's something I think that we somewhat overlook. The other thing, too, was the point of competitive focus. I think we really need to make sure that we understand our competitors, because a lot of times we lose, just because of that. Compliance, of course, the relationship with our customer, that one-on-one understanding of the customer and who we are going to bid the work for. So I think it's very important. And then also just making sure that you do answer the requirements. But to me, I'm just a people person. And so I just really feel like that relationship with our customer really helps in opening the door and asking questions. We don't always ask enough questions.
Great.
I will echo what Cecilia has to say, and the importance of understanding and knowing your customer, creating relationships. But at the same time, the automation helps us support the people who are out doing that work. The capture managers, the business developers, we can give them information. We can compare old RFPs to new RFPs, draft RFPs to finals, and give them more insight. So I think that the major value of the automation with regard to the PWIN is just the support and the better intelligence it can provide.
I think I just want to add, you cannot take out business sense out of business. It's a tool. Your win rates don't depend on tools and automation.
Sure.
So that's the bottom line.
Okay, great. Maybe this has already been dealt with, but which parts of your process do you think VisibleThread has helped the most? If you were forced to do the top 3 things, what would they be?
I would say the readability aspect of it, the compliance matrix build.
Actually, could you take the mic? See, sorry.
Sorry.
The readability piece, the compliance matrix piece, and the comparison between the RFP and the written document, the response.
Okay, great.
I think if you're trying to make the sale to your management, you start with the compliance matrix because that is so labor intensive, takes such a long time, and it's done at a time when it has to be generated very quickly and efficiently. So that's going to be a real winner for you. The next, of course, is comparing the documents because that happens at a time when people need to have things done quickly and efficiently. And overall, I think the readability wins every time. We are doing much better work now than we ever used to do.
So I'm going to answer that question a little bit differently. Depending on who and what role you play on the proposal, those top 3 items will change. For example, my editor, we used to sit and look for acronyms over and over. So if you pick my editor out of my team, for sure they're going to be, acronym list is my top. From an executive, if I were talking to an executive, to me the most important one has really been the compare documents. As soon as an amendment comes out, I need to see what got impacted and the speed and how quickly and cleanly it shows me what changed. That would be my top item. So it depends what role you play in the proposal process. The top 3 items will keep changing.
Great. Okay, you'll all be relieved to know I've got one final question I'm going to ask the guys, and it's not on the list. So my final question is, if you had your wish list fulfilled about VisibleThread docs, what would be your top request? Do you want to kick us off, Steve? Okay, you get 3 requests, right? And I'll take notes.
I'm just thinking that a lot of the enhancements that are coming out in 3.1 sound very, very good and very exciting. So at this point,
what,
I
it's
don't
perfect?
know. Huh?
It's perfect?
It's perfect at this point. I don't know what I don't know yet.
Got it.
So,
Got it.
but thank you. It's very
No
good.
worries. Elizabeth, I'm sure you've got some stuff.
Well, I would like to see a way to incorporate some of the compliance matrix pieces more fully. For example,
Yep.
really being able to bring in parts of your SOW into a single document, not having them all spread under different tabs. I would like to see that. I'm not sure it could be done. I'm not sure it would even be useful, but just bringing those people to pieces
You're not sure
together.
it's
Well, I
you
mean,
think it's great.
I would like it, but it doesn't necessarily mean it would
so
be
help
useful
me
to me.
understand that. So you've
Yes.
got one SOW.
Yes.
Walk it through for me. What
Well,
would
what I
this
would like to
new
do-
capability do?
What I would like to do is have everything blended together so that my compliance matrix that I generate from the shred could be the compliance matrix that I use for the proposal.
Got it. So you want to get as close as possible to the
Yes.
final product.
And I would also like an outline. That's been on my mind for about 5 years now. So if you could give me an outline, as long as you're saying I can have my wish,
I didn't say that.
But
I
after,
simply said, what are your wishes?
after that, I think those are the top two. Thank you.
Okay, great. You don't want much, do you? Yeah, no, gotcha.
I'll give you a hard one.
We had nice, easy requests before, like doable requests, but these ones are, yeah. Anyway,
Well, I'll make it even harder.
go for it.
I want it to connect the dots for me. I want it to show
You want it to think for
where,
you?
I want the compliance matrix to show if there's a requirement for BOE and technical, how does that connect to my pricing volume? Somehow, show me where dots are connected, because when one falls out of compliance, then the other gets impacted.
So my immediate reaction is that that's a shade of gray that's already within the tool potentially. If you've got a pricing volume and you've got your whatever it is, your you know, the
Basis of
proposal
estimate.
and the base of estimate, exactly, and you stick it in there, since we also support Excel, you upload your
Maybe
Excel.
it's just that I don't
you
know how
upload
to
the
connect
other
the dots.
And you look at Discovery and you cross-reference. I'm not saying it's perfect, I don't know. You should try it.
We'll try it.
It
We'll
could be
try it.
interesting.
Yeah.
So maybe we've got
But that's our biggest pain point right now, is when there are two silos working and one changes one thing and the other does not communicate with the other piece.
Gotcha.
We fall out of sync.
I suspect that that is actually my favorite view of the whole thing is the folder level view where you cross-cut documents. And when you think about the power of that, I think there's something in that, but I may be wrong. I may be wrong, try it. Okay, guys, that brings us to the end of the conference. We've gone over time by about half an hour. Really appreciate the help from our panelists. If you all give them a round of applause, that's fantastic. And thanks to everybody who stuck it out to the bitter end. Really appreciate it. Sorry, questions?
You didn't introduce the last two on the end. I know you're from GDIT and
Sorry. So Elizabeth Fake is from GDI. Elizabeth, do you
on LinkedIn, so.
have a couple of words to say to everybody? Just explain who you are and what role you play. Sorry, my apologies. I should have done that.
My name is Celia Bateman, and I work with Accenture, and am a part of the Accenture Technical Services Division. I'm a senior proposal manager and have been running proposals for many, many years. So I've started from doing everything by hand, and seeing this automation that's unfolding before us, I think, is phenomenal. So very excited about it.
My name is Elizabeth Fake. I'm with General Dynamics Information Technology. We work over on McLaren Road. I work primarily in the classified sector, and so our needs are a little different than some of the needs that are generally across the board for this tool. But I have to say that in our 5 years of using VisibleThread, and that's what we have used, how long we've used it, it is becoming more and more an answer to our prayers. So, and I'm just hoping that we can, in fact, roll out the tool more widely than we have in the past. But it is extremely useful, and it's making our lives much easier and more efficient.
And then Rena, everybody knows
Rena,
Rena
I
from the
spoke
earlier
earlier.
session, right? So, yeah, exactly. So thanks so much, guys, and really appreciate the time, and have a good rest of the day. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks.